how can we use your service? Oh, I don't know.
We are, so currently we are in Texas, Arizona, North Carolina, Connecticut, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Nebraska. And I think we're waiting on Maryland. We're finishing a few things to apply to Illinois, and Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina. I think they should be pretty straightforward states. But, you know, because we're B2C, and that's an important distinction in this. And I think we're really the only ones in that, and operating that with this model, we are able to really like expand across states and be wherever. So, you know, that's been great. Like we can serve parents in Fayetteville, North Carolina, or Greenville, as it's called, North Carolina, or a small town in Nebraska, you know, I mean, so we're able to meet needs everywhere, and we're moving.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Thank
I
you.
know that we have participants on live, and so if anyone has questions, feel free to come on video, come off mute, type them in the chat. I can also ask them anonymously if you send them directly to me. So thank you again. This was such a pleasure.
My gosh, absolutely. It's anything for you guys. And I love being here and talking about this. And Abbas, it just is so wonderful that you're joining me, because you know this is so my passion. And I really hope Abbas will be the one that goes on and figures out how female funding could be more readily available to others.
Well, we should chat outside of this, Abbas.
I know.
Anyone?
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to it. Rebecca, I'm so sorry I wasn't able to take your call yesterday, but absolutely, first thing on my mind, and it's a real challenge, right? I wonder if it's something that's happening consciously, or if it's something that's just maybe innate within us. I would love to hear from your side. I ran the numbers at NewChip, and it actually does seem we disproportionately take more female founders and people of color than traditional VCs. And so we were talking about that and wondering if we're doing something different, or what that really looks like. And we couldn't come up with anything. And so it's something that I don't have direct experience with. And so I think the female founders would be able to best help me understand what they feel they're going through.
Well,
yeah.
One thing I can definitely comment on is I know other angel groups might try to promote or support, you know, women getting, you know, along that investing path, but it's tough if the founding team or the executives, you know, all look a certain way and already have something that they do, and they don't really create that space for comfort learning, you know, all those things. I think because we're very women forward, we're seeing more women owned deal flow. We're seeing more, you know, women that are first time investors. And it's really the space you cultivate. And so what I would say based on what you just said is nice work at NewChip. You know, the fact that you are finding that funnel, you know, and finding diverse and, you know, more gender representation, you know, with your founders is exciting, but it can't be a checkbox. It can't be, hey, we want this. It's how do you show up? And I think that really ultimately impacts the flow of companies or investors, you know, whoever comes to you.
My thought immediately was, and this is tied to the crowdfunding thing, is there some inherent feeling that we need help to do it? Because NewChip is an accelerator for fundraising, right? Of course, like, and it's competitive to get in. And I know you guys do a lot of diligence too, and it was an honor to be accepted. But I think it was sort of like, you know, maybe maybe women are insecure about the inherent idea that there is not funding as readily available to women. And I don't know how many decades that thought process might take to change.
Yeah,
you know?
But you also have, you know, YC and you have a ton of accelerators out there.
Right.
Where I don't think that for the others, I haven't heard that it's majority either diverse or women owned.
Well, that's a great point then.
Yeah. And maybe it's the way that NewChip reaches out and cultivates. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, while you were mentioning that, it's actually funny. Um, some of the associates here, they like to ask tough questions purposefully, to watch these founders sort of squirm and make them feel uncomfortable, to put them in a place where
Huh.
they know the business will naturally make them feel that way. And so they want to see what that reaction looks like early on, and be able to make
Mm,
from an EQ standpoint a determination that you can't on paper. So
mhm.
it definitely is an interesting dynamic. What's most interesting though is um, and I'm very open to hearing what everybody thinks. I've actually seen our associates be very friendly to our women founders. I'm speaking to two women founders in about an hour, and I look forward to those calls. Those are very, very engaging calls. But I wonder, is there could the pendulum swing the other way, where is there a possibility where if we're being a little bit softer to our women founders, we're actually putting them at a disadvantage?
Ah,
Because yeah, and so I mean, I obviously don't have data on that, or would even know how to quantify data like that. But it's an interesting thought that came across while you guys were speaking.
Yeah,
totally.
great point. I mean, listen, one of my favorite books out there for I don't know, thinking about positioning, word slut. I know it sounds a little aggressive, and it is.
Ooh.
It's the intersection of kind of feminism and linguistics. And one of the points that Amanda Montell makes in it is, there are actually things that women do in terms of how they show up that work really well. And so we don't necessarily want to mimic the men, but also understanding that some of the phrasing, like I think, or asking for, reassurance, isn't maybe the best approach. But some of the verbiage and some of the ways that we show up, we are actually with a higher EQ, maybe getting more information or connecting at a deeper level. And so
Mm,
I don't want to show up like a man, but I do want to know my gaps and how to confidently do the thing, and recognizing also the scope of, let's say, a fundraise. There are things that you need to do that are maybe uncomfortable, and learning how to do that to accomplish it.
mhm.
But not necessarily wanting to show up like the opposite sex, or like somebody who's
Right,
not authentically me.
right. Because there are benefits in not being the opposite sex. I mean, not that we have to genderize or put
Right,
everyone in
but just
boxes.
like, there's something
Yeah,
special about also the
shouldn't bring
diversity
it.
of representation.
Right.
What is your
That's
background? What is your backstory? What are your
mhm,
strengths, right? And if you're just trying to mimic how somebody else is, that's
mhm,
not really showing up with your strengths
mhm.
at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But that point of, and we've heard that from other investors as well, to throw kind of a little bit of a wrench or a curveball and say, how do the founders respond? That is something that, a lot of investors want to see, which is, how do they execute? We're looking for execution all stages of the fundraise. And
Right.
so if something happens and it's not all rosy, how are they proactive? How do they respond? Are they responsive? What is their competency? And so there's a lot to learn through tough situations. We won't necessarily make something really, really difficult, just to watch squirming, but it is an interesting trick. And there are things that we're looking for at all stages of the investment.
Mhm. I thought you guys
Yeah,
did great diligence though, Natalie. I thought it was very even, like you pushed. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't simple. I've gone through like,
That's good feedback. And we
yeah.
want to like I guess play with that line of, we want to get good information, but also
Mhm,
recognizing it's not necessarily a massive check. And there's a few voices over here. We also want to make it somewhat seamless. So thank you.
mhm. Yeah.
Great. Anyone else have questions on the call?
Natalie, what's the name of the book? You said it's Word what?
Word slut. One word.
Ah, thank you.
Yes.
I wrote it down too.
No worries. I read a lot. Referencing a few here, but yeah, I guess one of my passions other than investing in gender equity is reading.
great book in terms of raising rounds. It's a little dry, but the authors are phenomenal. Venture Deals, they
Mhm.
actually handed out at New Chip during our new employment package. It's a mandatory read for us, and yeah, very, very informative. A little dry, but great if you guys are thinking about raising.
Well, what's not dry is Brad Feld's newsletter, which I always enjoy.
Oh, I've not read that. I'll write that down too. Okay.
Yeah, CB Insights. I mean, there's a lot of fun ways to stay on top of what's happening in the funding world. But I'd love to learn some more about NewChip.
Absolutely, yeah.
Actually,
I'll send you a LinkedIn invite after this.
yeah, and just because we'll have maybe some future founders that are listening to this recording or on live, who do you think is good to apply to, or look at working with a NewChip or an accelerator?
I'm sorry, one more time. Who
No worries.
is
Who would you recommend? Is it founders that are needing help and support around the fundraising journey? Could it be parts of executing around the business? At what stage would a NewChip or another accelerator be a good partner?
So at NewChip, we focus on early stage founders with strong growth, as most VCs do. When it comes to the accelerator portion, it's all fundraising focused, meaning that the accelerator is just a due diligence vehicle to make sure that when we do put you in front of our investors, it's going to be a very smooth conversation. You guys are confident in being able to pitch. All the investor facing materials are aligned. Everything's in order. So it really is a due diligence vehicle. The thing that I really like about our value prop, shameless plug, I'm so sorry, but you asked the question, is that we're aiming mainly for strategics. And so we want to find your ideal investor, essentially, that can help close the round or at least lead it. And our network is pretty big. We've got about 6,000 investors at the moment across 100 countries. And so, yeah.
We'd like to plug in. We'd like to see the deal flow, and I know we're coming up to time here, but it's helpful and great to have you as a part of it. And if anyone didn't realize it, so Kidcaboo is working with NewChip, or in their class, I guess, of going
on their Series A. Yeah. We're
Great.
getting toward the end of this. Yeah, they're investors.
What's really, really funny is that me and Rebecca were actually working together before I was in NewChip, and I knew that she needed funding. And then when I got my job with NewChip, I was like, hey, I got this job at NewChip. I know you said you needed funding. Actually, I didn't even mention NewChip. I said, hey, are you still looking for funding? And Rebecca responds to me and she says, actually, we just got accepted into NewChip. And I was like, wow, what a small world.
There you go. It was meant to be. I know we're coming up to time. I got a few direct messages thanking you profusely, Rebecca, for sharing the story and the journey. Anything, I guess, as we're coming to a close, any more questions from anyone else?
I want to just say thank you all. And if you ever have anyone that wants to reach out, like I love helping founders like I was helped, paying it forward. I think it can make the world of difference.
Thank you. Yeah, I think mentorship, connection. I just talked to somebody the other day when I was skiing, and they said they're an angel investor, and it was so interesting. He'd been a multiple founder, and one of the things that he does for the companies he invests in, I thought this was brilliant, was when there's basically a moment of crap, things are blowing up, what do I do? He's literally there as oh yeah, like this happens and that's okay.
Yeah, that's so smart.
I could connect you if you want.
I just need to hire that person just to be there for the rest of the team.
But the point is, it's like, you're doing these impossible things a lot of times as a founder, and, also as a woman, maybe, who doesn't see other role models or people, who've already done it before them, having that mentorship, having that conversation, you showing up today, it's brilliant. So, thank you for being here, and hopefully it'll inspire some future Rebeccas or whoever these people are authentic.
I hope.
To launch their businesses or invest.
Thank you guys so much for having me. And so good to see you guys, Rachel too, of us. Thanks for coming. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Take care.